Hello. Welcome back to my haunted library. How are you? I have just gotten over being sick, and I was out for like a week. I was just bragging. See, this is what happens when you brag. I was just bragging a few weeks ago that I haven't gotten a cold in years. Well, let me tell you, I got one of the worst colds. I thought I had COVID. That's how bad I felt. I took the test. I was laying in bed with a cold compress. I was convinced I was dying, and I didn't have COVID. I just had a bad cold, probably made much worse by the fact that this time of year I get really bad allergies, especially when it suddenly goes from hot to cold, when that weird change in temperature, atmospheric pressure happens, hurricane season, all of that wreaks havoc on my nose. And I really should probably see a specialist, but honestly, I just don't want to deal with it. So, yeah, if you're in the same boat, you have my sympathies. It's really a problem. In fact, it doesn't really go away until it starts getting very cold. Maybe one day I will have to end up living in a very cold climate, which would make my husband very happy because that's what he's always wanted. But anyway, I'm digressing. Let's get into some different things today. So, I have quite a few announcements and then a kind of a mixed bag of stuff. This seems to be where my channel's been heading. Instead of uploading 2 or sometimes even 3 shorter videos a week like I used to, I'm more like, let's just do one big one a week, and I will always try to timestamp. When I say big one, it's maybe 20 minutes at the most. I don't know. All right, it just seems like this is kind of falling into this type of pattern. Okay, so where am I? Code Red. All right, so Code Red is out in print and ebook, of course. I love the print cover. It's really cool, and I am going to be doing a giveaway for 2 copies of the print copy. So this is for USA only, sorry. I will be doing more international giveaways. I do a lot of giveaways, as you know, if you're a fan of my channel, and if you are, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I enjoy doing giveaways. Yeah, so I just did one in September. Batilda did one, so now I'm doing one in October. Of course, October is here, and I couldn't be happier despite my allergies because I love October. Of course, every horror fan loves it. E.D. Lewis posted a really nice review for Code Red, so I'm going to link his channel below, his video. And if you haven't subbed to his channel yet, please do. He has a great channel if you love classic horror, gothic, romance, that kind of stuff. He and I love a lot of the same books, so do check him out. So we have a new release from someone in our community that I wanted to mention, Andrew Lyle over at Grumpy Andrew's Horror House, who just got married in Vegas. So big congratulations to him and his wife. Has a book out called 27 Stories of Death and Desire, a horror short story collection. And it is out now I'm going to link it below. I'm pretty sure it's out in print too. I have the ebook. It's great. I knew a couple of the stories already because I've either read them or they were part of like my anthology or another anthology, but he has a lot of new stuff. And I'm about halfway through. I will do a separate review on that or cover it in my next video. And it's just great. He's such a good writer. And, you know, he did mention me in the acknowledgments, which I was really thrilled to see, that me kind of reaching out to him to be part of the first HorrorTube anthology. I had to think of what it's called. Local Haunts encouraged him to get back into writing. So if I could have anything to do with that, I think it's great. I love to encourage creativity, especially in people who are super talented like he is. So yeah, check out his work. And speaking of HorrorTube anthologies, Lurking in the Dark is coming out October 15th. So 2 weeks. I have 2 weeks to get this thing together. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm almost done, but just working out the little formatting details that go into putting a print book together. And it's available for pre-order now, but you can wait until the 15th to order your print copy if you'd like. Please check it out. So this will be the 3rd book in the anthologies, and it's kind of like a nice set. All 3 covers kind of have the same look by Cameron Rubik, and yeah, I'm really proud of this. Another thing that I'm doing, because I just guess I just love doing this stuff, or why else would I do it, is I am putting together something that's always been a bit of a dream of mine, and that is to create a zine, an old school type of zine that's done through the mail, very rough around the edges, very bare bones, just kind of printed, stapled, mailed. And it's called Bookworms. And it's coming out in the new year. And I'm accepting fiction submissions and some nonfiction essays, artwork, this kind of thing. Right now, I'm only accepting fiction, but in the future, I'll be looking for essays as well, or reaching out to people to do some writing for me. It is paid, so if you're interested, check the link below. I hope I get a lot of really cool stuff to choose from. And what else? Okay, well, I had a great vamptember. I read nothing but vampire books for the month of September, and I feel like I'm only getting started because there were so many books that I didn't get a chance to read. I ran out of time, but boy, I had a good time. I also watched some really cool vampy movies. I read The Making of a Monster by Gail Peterson, which I'll talk about in a sec. I'm also finishing up an audiobook version of Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia, who wrote Mexican Gothic, which I wasn't that crazy about. This one's okay too. You know, I'm trying to read newer stuff, but it's all right. But I'll wait till I finish it before I make the final judgment. But this book I absolutely loved. I had been wanting to read this for years. Oops, my bookmark just fell out. But I did finish it. This is by Gail Peterson. This came out in '93, and I believe this is her only novel. I might be wrong. This was part of the Abyss line of fiction. I think The Cipher was part of this too. It was kind of an exciting last gasp of paperbacks from hell. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to read this is because I know Gail Peterson from being in this band, the Catholic Girls. There is a bit of a rock and roll edge to this book, and she certainly is a rock and roller. So let's just cue the intro. This is my actual record from 1980, 82 maybe. I went to see them in concert back in the day and never forgot them. I was a huge fan. I always thought they were much cooler than the Go-Go's. Sorry. So I dropped out of college to move to New York with my boyfriend, and we stayed there for a year, and we've been together ever since, basically. But no, we moved back to New York. It was a whole thing, but we had this like wild year where I was just a wee child and lived in New York and did a lot of fun stuff. And I went, spent a lot of time in bookstores and reading angsty poetry and writing angsty poetry, and taking tap dance classes, acting classes, and going to see a lot of music, including this band, which I absolutely loved. And look at her. She is so cool. And this was the time of my life when, I don't know how, but I just would see music almost every night. Like when I was in college, when we were in New York, never had any money. I think it's because I didn't drink. Like there was always enough money for a cover. And you could just get in and watch a band. I know I saw them at the Ritz in New York, which is the old Studio 54 building. I don't know if it's still called the Ritz or what is it now, but I know 54 below is the Cabaret, but I'm not really sure what's going on there now. But it was a great concert, and I remember just thinking that these girls were so cool, and I was like envious. I wish I had had the nerve to be them, it was great. And she just kills me. This band never became, what the Go-Go's became, and they were never as commercial as, Bananarama or, the Bangles, who I never really liked. But they were just really cool and great music. And one thing I really loved about this book is I felt Gail Peterson's voice that I hear in her lyrics really come out in this novel. And it made me laugh. Like, I love her humor. There's so much humor in her music, too, and in her lyrics. And I just thought it was great. Now, do I think everyone will love this book? No, because I think you have to be a certain, I don't know, a certain frame of mind. I think that if you're looking for like a scary vampire book, you might be not really that into it. But if you're looking for like a great character study, it's called The Making of a Monster. And it really is about this young woman who slowly becomes a monster. Like, that's kind of what the story is about. She starts out as sort of like just kind of a bored wife of this man who they move out to California mostly for his occupation. And she's in her late 20s, that age, you know, when you're like 27 and you still haven't figured out what you want to do in your life, like that kind of thing. I'm still figuring that stuff out. So, you know, sometimes it never ends. But she decides to go to an acting class to maybe get into acting and to, you know, study something, do something a little different, get over her shyness, etc. And she meets this very intriguing man named Justin in the acting class who seduces her. And of course, he's a vampire. And her life turns on a dime. And what I really liked about this book, especially in that part, is how desperate this character becomes. Like, you know, you think, oh, I'm a vampire. I'll just, you know, be a vampire. It'd be really cool. But it kind of gets into the nuts and bolts of like, well, how do I survive? Where do I sleep? What happened to my husband? What happened to my life? What's going on? And she kind of goes through an existential crisis as a vampire until she finds her way, and then she joins a rock band and learns how to play bass. And it does get into the nuts and bolts of that. I mean, it doesn't maybe go quite as far as it could have to really be about like the rock music and stuff, but it was really kind of her. She's in the band, but then she falls in love with the lead singer. And, you know, she was very lonely before, after losing her husband, after losing the vampire guy that seduced her. He just kind of left town, although he shows up later in the book. But it kind of gets into the conflict of what do you do when you're a 27-year-old vampire bassist in a band, and the band wants to go on tour, but you have issues because you're a vampire and you're in love with the lead singer, and how do you negotiate all that? And then slowly her, you know, all the things that made her human kind of get eaten away one bite at a time, so to speak. And it's fascinating. I wish she had written more books. I'm giving this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. So if you know this book, if you know this band, let me know in the comments below. And I'm going to link, I watched a couple of videos from back in the day, but if they have like a channel or something, I'm going to link it below. Definitely check out their music. I'm going to be playing it later because it's really good stuff. I also watched some vampy movies. I watched the original Bela Lugosi Dracula, 1931. That was pretty good. I knew I had watched it, you know, when I was a kid or something, but I'd forgotten how scary Renfield is when he's like crawling across the floor. He does that like mad thing really well, and I was scared. I think that really scared me when I was a kid. It still scared me a little, and I kind of have a crush on Bella. I watched Vampires with a Y. A lesbian vampire couple abduct victims in this eerie European erotic classic. That was great. It's a pretty short film. It has a kind of like soft porn 70s feel to it. But there's something really creepy about it. It really got under my skin. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the clothes, the styling, all of it. And then I watched The Velvet Vampire, also on Shudder. This one wasn't very good. A 1971. This is really, really cheap. Like, it looks like it was shot on 8mm film. A married couple are invited to the desert home of bisexual female vampire Diane LeFanu. I guess that's supposed to be a Carmilla reference. Not realizing she's a centuries-old bloodsucker keen on adding them both to their stable of lovers. I found this interesting because it stars Michael Blodgett, who plays like the stud, the blonde stud in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which is one of my favorite cult films, I guess you could call it. And I was curious about him, and I do have to say I felt a little ashamed because I thought he had to have been like a porn star or something. But then I went on Wikipedia and discovered that he actually was an actor in Hollywood and did like a pop music show, a TV show, and that he was also a writer. So shame on me for thinking he was a porn actor just because he's, has that surfer boy bod. That movie was, I mean, if you're looking for just something fun while you're doing something else, you might enjoy it. But I'm not going to exactly recommend it. So what else did I want to talk about today? Oh, I know what it is. A fan of the channel, his name's Patrick, is really sweet, sent me an entire box of books. It came with a lovely note and a letter and a bookmark. I absolutely love it. And you know what? I got to get this off my lap because it's really heavy. I'm not going to show every single book today because there's so many, but I do want to share a little bit of what he sent. And each book he attached a little note. Now it's just gently taped. It's not going to, affect the cover. But I thought this was so sweet. So there were a lot of books in here that I don't know. This is called The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Poisoning Awful Men, a late 18th century timeline in London, badass heroines. I don't mind if I do. Like he wrote these cute little notes on each book. Some awesome advice from one of the masters. Okay. This is Patricia Highsmith, plotting and writing suspense fiction. I believe she wrote The Talented Mr. Ripley, which I love that movie, and I've read the book. So this was very sweet of Patrick to send me these books. And, I just really think this community can be amazing. As many times as I might get discouraged when, like just recently, I don't want to turn this into like a pity party, but just recently, because of Code Red coming out, I had reached out to some, I guess, members of the horror community and horror fiction that are, pretty prominent and well known, just kind of saying, hey, can I send my book to you? You don't have to read or review it. And, I just either got no response or just like, sorry, no. And it, like I said, I don't want to really harp on it because it does get discouraging sometimes. I feel like I have put my time into this community in a lot of ways. I mean, as a writer, I've written over 20 books. I have a pretty nice channel here on YouTube, and I produce will be my third anthology that I've edited and put together. I guess my point is, you have to make your own community. You really can't expect anyone to kind of help you out. But I wanted to end on something really positive that happened. So all of us here probably know who Cameron Chaney is, but I wanted to tell a little story that happened over the weekend. And I'll promise to make it really brief. Now, I know Cameron hasn't made a video for a while, but Little Bird told me he's going to be back soon. But I was doing a music show here at my studio on Sunday. So about once a month, I'll do like a live music. And I used to do a lot more of these shows, and I'm starting to do more now. And my good friend, Righteous, you might remember him. He was in one of my Halloween specials where Matilda was decapitated. He has 2 kids, and one of his little boys was here, and he's 7 years old. And he came into my library, and I was showing him around, and I'm showing him my books, and he was a big Goosebumps fan. In fact, he and his brother had gone to an R.L. Stine book signing, and they had a picture on Facebook where they met R.L. Stine, and he signed their books, and they're very excited. Well, this little boy's name's Noble. He just started talking about his Goosebumps, and he mentioned that he watches Cameron Chaney. And I was like, the Cameron Chaney? Like, it was just a funny moment when somebody outside of booktube knows somebody in booktube, He's like, yeah, Cameron Chaney. And I was like, well, Noble, I'm friends with Cameron Chaney. Now, I've never met Cameron in real life, but we've definitely interacted. And his eyes were like this, and he was like, really? I was like, really? And I don't know if he really believed me, but I said, I'll tell you what, if it's okay with your dad, I'll do a little video of you, and you can say hi to Cameron Chaney, and I'll send it to him. And that's what we did, and sent Cameron a little video, and then Noble asked him if he had a certain book in his collection and if he would want to trade with him. And it was so cute. So I sent it to Cameron, and then Cameron sent a video back to Noble and his brother, talking to them, and I'm sure that they were absolutely thrilled. And it just warmed my heart so much to see that, and it just reminded me of what a great community this is. So I just wanted to end on that note. So please let me know in the comments below what you plan on reading for the month of October. Do you have any special spooky season plans? I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye.